Hi everyone, it's good to be with you for another Sunday. Last week was Pentecost, which was super fun. You saw my fun party hat. I hoped you liked that. And we took a break from Story of Moses to celebrate the birthday of the church, which I hope was fun. And thank you for sharing all of the pictures you created. I love seeing all of those. So now we are back to Story of Moses. So we need to review a little bit because it's been a week. So we got to make sure we remember everything because he's had a pretty crazy life so far. And we're only in chapter 4 today. So Moses, he was a little baby and he was, his mom put him in a little basket. He floated on down the Nile. Pharaoh's daughter picked him up, was like, hey, I'm going to raise this kid. So she did. He grew up and he lived in the Pharaoh's house. And he didn't like the way the Israelites were treated, so he ran away. And God eventually talks to Moses through a burning bush. Remember my burning bush? It's back today. We're gonna probably still use this. Um, and yeah, Moses, he's going to be a leader, and that's basically what the bush has told him so far. So we are starting in Exodus chapter 4, and we are still talking to the burning bush. So if you have your Bibles, grab your Bibles. I have mine. Ooh, kind of matches my shirt today. Just sort of fun. Yeah, so chapter 4. Let's start at verse 1. It's a good place to start. Moses answered. Now remember, he's talking to the bush and he's like, hey, you're going to go, save people in Egypt. And he's like, oh gosh, okay. Let's hear what Moses has to say. Moses answered, what if they don't believe me or listen to me and say, the Lord did not appear to you? So, Moses, he's not very confident in himself right now, and being confident means that you can say, I've got this. Yes, I can do it. So he is not very confident. He's very hesitant. He's like, I don't think they're going to believe me that you sent me here. So then the Lord said to him, what is in your hand? And he's like, a staff. And a staff is like a big stick, And the Lord said, throw it on the ground. So he throws it on the ground. Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake. And it ran, and he ran from it. I love Moses because I think I would have reacted very similarly if God talked to me in a bush and be like, I don't think so. I don't know that I can do this. And then God's like, you got a staff in your hand. We'll go throw that on the ground. And then it becomes a snake, and then he runs. I would have ran. I don't love snakes. Yeah, so I relate here with Moses. Then the Lord said to him, reach out your hand and take it by the tail. He's telling Moses to pick that snake up by the tail. I don't think I could do that either. So Moses reached out and took hold of the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. Whoa. God's so cool. That's all God right there. This, said the Lord, is so that they may believe and that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. So there we go, Moses. When you're like, they won't believe me, God's like, well, here we go. I'm going to give you a stick that turns into a snake, and now they'll know that I'm with you. Great! So let's get going at verse 6. Then the Lord said, put your hand inside your cloak. So Moses put his hand inside his cloak, and when he took it out, the skin was leprous. So leprous is a type of disease that was very common in biblical times. And it was when your skin would get really white and it would have these sores on it, and people who had leprosy were often left outside of communities, and they were just left out there, and they were very lonely, and then they were in a lot of pain because leprosy hurt and your skin hurt and there was nothing to heal it. So Moses, he sticks his hand in his cloak, pocket in a jacket, and it comes out and it's white and all the spots and sores and it hurts really bad. And I lose my spot every time. So Moses put his hand, so God's like, put your hand back inside your cloak. So he puts his hand back in his pocket, and Moses put his hand back in his pocket, and when he took it out, it was restored. It was the same blush, happy skin like our skin. Then the Lord said, if they do not believe you or pay attention to the first sign, they may believe the second. So this situation with getting leprosy and it being restored just with your pocket. Um, but if they do not believe these two signs or listen to you, take some water from the Nile and pour it on dry ground. The water you take from the river will become blood on the ground. Wow, God is just here giving Moses all the things he needs in order for people to believe him. So God, I think, is really trying to build up Moses' confidence. Like, okay, look, I recognize you're a little scared. You're not very confident in yourself right now. You might be a little bit scared of me. But here's what's going to happen. I'm giving you the fancy stick that turns into a snake. If they don't think that's from God, well, then we're going to do the pocket thing, and your hand will come out leprous, and you stick it back in your pocket, and then it'll come out clean. And here's a third one, in case like they really are struggling this day, and to believe that I sent you, God sent you, Moses. You're going to take some water from the Nile, put it on the ground, and the water's going to turn into blood. A little bit gross, a little bit weird, but it's God. So Moses said to the Lord, "Pardon your servant, Lord." Oh, Moses, here we go. I have never been I've never been eloquent, neither in the past, nor since you've spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. So Moses, he's kind of like, "Hey, God, I'm not a public speaker. I am not good at talking to large groups of people. I might not even be good at talking to like one other person. So I don't know that I'm your dude for this job. I can't speak to people. I can't lead if I can't speak well." So that's what Moses is thinking. After God's like, "Here's all the things I'm giving you to show the signs that I'm with you," then he's like, "Well, like that's still not cutting it for me, Lord, because I don't speak well. So what are we going to do about that?" Here we go. We're going to find out. In verse 11, the Lord said to him, "Who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord?" Oh boy. "Now go. I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." But Moses said, "Oh, Moses, this is great. So pardon me, Lord. Please send someone else." I love that. So God is like constantly reassuring Moses during this whole chapter. He's got 3 signs ready to go. And then Moses is like, "I don't speak well." And then God's like, "Well, I'll help you. I'll give you the words to say. And guess what? I made you. And I made you just the way you're supposed to be. And I'll help you speak well because I'm God and that's what I do. I help you." And Moses is just still not satisfied. And he's like, "Well, can you just send someone else?" So I kind of love that. He's brutally honest here in this chapter. Then the Lord, then, at this point, God's mad. Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses, and he said, "What about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and he will be glad to see you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth. I will help both of you speak and will teach you what to do. He will speak to the people for you, and it will be as if he were your mouth and as if you were God to him. But take this staff in your hand so you can perform the signs with it." So God's like, "Oh my goodness. Moses, I've about had enough of you, dude. You keep questioning me. Well, fine. I'm giving you your brother Aaron, and Aaron's gonna come along and help." Which is kind of great because sometimes we need people in our lives to help us out, especially when we are lacking confidence like Moses is right now. So we've got Aaron, and Aaron is going to speak for Moses when Moses is like, "I can't do it." So that's good. We have somebody else to help, and God's still with Moses and Aaron now. So here we are, verse 18. Then Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, remember, Moses had like family situation. He was married to Zipporah. They had a little baby named Gershom. So, he was living out in the field, taking care of sheep, living the good life, basically. And now God's like, "Guess what? Go back to Egypt." So Moses is like, "Well, okay, I guess I'm satisfied now. I've got the 3 signs. I've got the really cool stick that turns into a snake. I can do the pocket thing with the leprosy, and then I can apparently put some Nile River water on dirt and it turns into a blood. And I got Aaron. I think I'm going to be okay now. So, okay, let me go talk to my father-in-law, and I got to tell him that I need to return to Egypt and see if I can help my people. So Jethro, his father-in-law, is like, yeah, go. I wish you well. That's pretty great. He's like, yeah, go do it. I believe in you. God's got you. So now the Lord said to Moses in Midian, go back to Egypt, for all those who wanted to kill you are dead. Remember, Moses did that really bad thing. He killed an Egyptian dude. And so then Pharaoh at that time was like, we gotta kill Moses. And then that's why Moses ran away. But then the Pharaoh died, so like now nobody really remembers Moses. And nobody wants to hurt him anymore. So God's like, hey, guess what? Like, nobody's going to hurt you. Go back to Egypt. So Moses took his wife and his sons, put them on a donkey, which I have a question. I love this part. So he took his wife and his sons and he put them on a donkey. I read this part, friends, and I was just sort of wondering if maybe Harold the donkey, that one that shows up at Christmas and Easter, I wonder if somehow he's related to this specific donkey that helped Moses and his wife travel to Egypt. I feel like that donkey probably has a really great story, and I don't know. We might need to write a letter to Harold. Maybe we could do that. Write a letter to Harold and ask, hey, do you know this donkey that Moses had? I love that. So let me know if you want to write one. I'll help, and we can see if Harold responds. That was a crazy sidebar. Let's get back to the story. Whoa. Okay, and Moses, he has the staff. He's ready to go, and he is on his way. So the Lord said to Moses, when you return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the wonders I have given you the power to do. But I will harden his heart so that he will not let the people go. Interesting. Then say to Pharaoh, this is what the Lord says, Israel is my firstborn son, and I told you, let my son go, and so he may worship me. But you refuse to let him go, so I will kill your firstborn son. The Bible is not pretty, friends. There are some parts in here that are kind of crazy, kind of scary. So this is God kind of telling Moses what is potentially going to happen that you guys might remember if you remember this story. So, yeah, it's not going to be too great for Pharaoh in the end. So here we go at verse, right, yeah. Well, that's perfect. I wanted to stop at verse 24. So, we're starting at verse 27 now. Yeah, there we go. I got a little confused on I have notes next to my Bible, so sometimes the switching back and forth is a little bit hard for my brain. But here we are, verse 27. The Lord said to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. So he met Moses at the mountain of God and kissed him. Now, don't be grossed out by that, because back then you kind of kissed your brother or sister or really close friend or family on the cheek. It's like, hey, now we just sort of high five or wave. That's how they greeted each other back then. Then Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say and all about the signs he had commanded him to perform. So Moses and Aaron brought together all the elders of the Israelites, and Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses. He also performed the signs before the people, and they believed. And when they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their misery, they bowed down and worshipped. Isn't that so cool? So right here at the end of chapter 4, Moses and Aaron are together. Aaron's doing his job, and he's speaking for Moses, and Moses is performing the signs, and the Israelites are like, God is here. We believe this. God is with us. We worship the Lord. So we are stopping the story for today. Sorry about that. If you want, you can read ahead, because the Bible's for everyone, and you can read it anytime you want. That's the really cool thing about most of us, all of us, having Bibles. Yeah. So chapter 4, friends, it kind of feels like a lot, and it kind of feels like Moses is on the edge of freak out at any point, because he's sort of like, what, Lord, me, you want me to go to Egypt? I don't think so. I don't think that's a great idea. I don't speak very well. He has a lot of excuses going on. There's gotta be someone else. Can you just, you're giving me the signs and everything, but man, I don't think it's me. I don't think I'm the guy for this job. So, God gave Moses, that really cool staff that turned into a snake, and he gave him the other two signs, and he gave him Aaron to come along and help. And after all of this, Moses is probably still like a little hesitant, but he packs up his family on the donkey that we need to figure out the origins of and head back to Egypt. So he's on his way back to Egypt. And that is, where our story ends for today. So today I didn't really know what scene we can draw or create because it's just a lot of Moses just back and forth with the Lord. And then finally, like, okay. And then we get the first sign that maybe Moses' confidence is building by the end when Aaron speaks and he does the cool thing with the staff. And yeah, the people believed. But I was thinking that I would like you to think about or write about. Maybe you can draw a picture of a specific time or specific moment when you felt God asking you to do something big or maybe small, and it maybe felt like a lot, kind of the way Moses felt. Maybe you were like, I don't know that I should do this. I think you should have somebody else to do this, Lord. I don't know. I am not okay with this. Oh, this is hard, right? So maybe you felt God telling you to go sit with someone who's like all alone at lunch rather than sitting with your friends, and that felt kind of hard because like sometimes it just, school's weird and you feel like people are always watching you. So maybe that felt a little uncomfortable, but that's a big thing. You help that person, feel safe and feel like they had somebody cool and new to talk to. Maybe this is a tough one. Maybe you felt God telling you to like let a sibling or a friend play with a new toy you got, and like you just got it and like you barely even played with it, but you have to share, and sharing can be hard sometimes, but you felt like God was asking you to do that. And even though you were like, really, God, like, can't I just go hide in my room and play with this by myself? God was like, no, like, play with your sibling or friend. So, we aren't Moses, and God's not asking us to go save Egypt, although maybe someday you'll become a missionary and be sent to some cool country and you get to spread the gospel of Jesus. But right now, I don't think any of us are called to go, it's called to go save Egypt. But God does ask us to do some pretty big things in our lives and some pretty small things that make a big difference in the lives of, us and the people around us. So that is pretty cool, and I think that's something we need to think about. And maybe you can draw a moment when God asked you to do something and you did it. And you should be proud of those moments because sometimes it's really hard to follow God and to listen and to know that it's God and to do the things He asks. So let me know of a moment that of something God asked you to do and you did it. Because I'd love to hear that because it can be hard. And it's really, really cool when kids can do these things because I believe you can. I believe that you can hear the voice of God and you can do the things that He asks you to do. So yeah, that's our potential activity today. If you want to choose to do it, I hope you do because I love when your parents email me your pictures and your writings and all of the things, and sometimes your videos, which I get a kick out of. And also, what are your wild God moments? How was God with you this week? Did you do something really fun? Did you see something really cool in creation? I went for a walk last week in a state park. It's Little Buffalo State Park with my family, and I saw so many turtles, and it just made me happy. So that's probably my wild God moment. There were turtles everywhere on logs, and they had these things called turtle islands, and like they're these little like wooden plank things that the turtles just hop on when they need a break from swimming. So yeah, I would say that seeing all the turtles and the wildlife. What else did I see? Oh, I saw a really big fish in the water because sometimes you can see their shadows. And yeah, squirrels. That was basically it. But it was so cool to see all the wildlife and it made me happy. So that's my wild God moment. So let me know what yours is and let me know what something that God asked you to do that you did. So I hope you have a great Sunday and a great week ahead. And happy summer. I know many of you finished school this week, so that is really great. And I hope you have a great summer and can do all the fun summery things. So I will see you virtually next week. Have a great Sunday, friends.